Hare Krishna, my friends. Welcome to Bhaktiville. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam on Fridays now. Last week we started the very first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. They say that Srimad Bhagavatam is the cream of all the Vedas. Imagine skimming the cream off the top of some fresh whole milk. It has all the beautiful qualities of fresh milk and it's rich, creamy, and delicious. That's Srimad Bhagavatam, the rich, creamy, delicious teachings of the Vedas. And as a side note, Srimad Bhagavatam contains 18,000 verses. We have a long way to go, but they say that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step, so a journey of 18,000 verses begins with the first one. And so here we go. We are on page 46 of the book, or page 67 of the PDF. Before we get started, I'd like to offer my obeisances, and then we'll sing those verses that are up on the slideshow. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namane. I offer my respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna, having taken shelter at his lotus feet. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripasindubhye cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I also offer my respectful obeisances unto the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They are just like desire trees and can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Hare Krishna, Kandita. So today we have Kandita is here, and Bhaktiville is here, and Ash is here. So it's so good to see all of you. And we're also streaming live on Facebook. So we're going to sing these verses that are up there on the slideshow. And you can have your mics will be off and you can just sing along with me. And we'll do the Sanskrit and then the English. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim swarasvatim vyasam tatto jayam udirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Shrinvatam svakata Krishna punya shravana kirtanaha hridyantas dohya badrani vidonoti suhritsatam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Nashta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So as I said, Let me find it. We are on page 67 of the PDF or page 46 of the book. And we're smack dab in the middle of the comments, the purport of the very first chapter. So let me just reread the first verse so that we can kind of get back up to speed. I offer my obeisances unto Lord Sri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, who is the supreme, all-pervading personality of Godhead. I meditate upon him, the transcendent reality, who is the primeval cause of all causes, from whom all manifested universes arise, in whom they dwell, and by whom they are destroyed. I meditate upon that eternally effulgent Lord, who is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations, and yet is beyond them. It is he only who first imparted Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahma, the first created being. Through him this world, like a mirage, appears real even to great sages and demigods. Because of him, the material universes, created by the three modes of nature, appear to be factual, although they are unreal. And meditate therefore upon him, the absolute truth, who is eternally existent in his transcendental abode, and who is forever free of illusion. Time. So let me just read one sentence before this paragraph we're going to start. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that there is no other Paratattva, the summum bonum, than himself. Therefore, Sri Vyasadeva at once worships the Paratattva, Sri Krishna, whose transcendental activities are described in the 10th canto. I just have to move my screen over slightly so I can... It's not cooperating. Move things over a little bit so I can see if anyone's commenting. Okay, here we go. Unscrupulous persons go immediately to the 10th canto, and especially to the 5 chapters which describe the Lord's rasa dance. This portion of the Srimad Bhagavatam is the most confidential part of this great literature. Unless one is thoroughly accomplished in the transcendental knowledge of the Lord, one is sure to misunderstand the Lord's worshipable transcendental pastimes, called rasa dance, and his love affairs with the gopis. This subject matter is highly spiritual, and only the liberated persons who have gradually attained to the stage of Paramahamsa can transcendentally relish this rasa dance. Srila Vyasadeva, therefore, gives the reader the chance to gradually develop spiritual realization before actually relishing the essence of the pastimes of the Lord. And here he's talking about reading all the first 9 cantos before you get to the 10th, is what he's saying. Therefore, he purposefully invokes a Gayatri mantra, Dhimahi, which is we meditate upon. This Gayatri mantra is meant for spiritually advanced people. When one is successful in chanting the Gayatri mantra, he can enter into the transcendental position of the Lord. One must therefore acquire Brahminical qualities, or be perfectly situated in the quality of goodness, in order to chant the Gayatri mantra successfully, and then attain to the stage of transcendentally realizing the Lord, his name, his fame, his qualities, and so on. Oh, Bhakti Mimula says in chat, we read 10 first. We did. We read 10 first because we want to understand who that person is. So I think that Krishna book is a great introduction to that. The 10th canto, reading verse for verse, is quite a bit different. But Krishna book is wonderful because we want people to know who Krishna is. In fact, that was one of the most popular books when it was first published. We handed them out like candy so people could know who Krishna was. All right, back to our text. Srimad Bhagavatam is the narration of the Swarup of the Lord, the Swarup, the body of the Lord, manifested by his internal potency. And this potency is distinguished from the external potency, which has manifested the cosmic world, which is within our experience, where we live. Srila Vyasadeva makes a clear distinction between the two in this shloka. Srila Vyasadeva makes a clear distinction. I said that, sorry. Srila Vyasadeva says herein that the manifested eternal potency is real, whereas the external manifested energy in the form of material existence is only temporary and illusory, like the mirage in the desert. In the desert mirage, there is no actual water. There is only the appearance of water. Real water is somewhere else. The manifested cosmic creation appears as reality. But reality, of which this is but a shadow, is in the spiritual world. Absolute truth is in the spiritual sky, not the material sky. In the material sky, everything is relative truth. That is to say, one truth depends on something else. This cosmic creation results from interaction of the three modes of nature, and the temporary manifestations are so created as to present an illusion of reality to the bewildered mind of the conditioned soul, who appears in so many species of life, including the higher demigods like Brahma, Indra, Chandra, and so on. In actuality, there is no reality in the manifested world. There appears to be reality, however, because of the true reality, which exists in the spiritual world, where the personality of Godhead eternally exists with his transcendental paraphernalia. Bhaktiville says, relating to the 10th canto, Prabhupada published it first too. Yes. It was quite wonderful. All right. The chief engineer of a complicated construction does not personally take part in the construction, but he knows every nook and corner because everything is done under his direction. He knows everything about the construction, both directly and indirectly. Similarly, the personality of Godhead, who is the supreme engineer of this cosmic creation, knows every nook and corner, although affairs are being carried out by demigods. Beginning from Brahma down to the insignificant ant, no one is independent in the material creation. The hand of the Lord is seen everywhere. All material elements, as well as all spiritual sparks, emanate from him only. And whatever is created in this material world is but the interaction of two energies, the material and the spiritual, which emanate from the absolute truth, personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. A chemist can manufacture water in the chemical laboratory by mixing hydrogen and oxygen, but in reality, the living entity works in the laboratory under the direction of the Supreme Lord, and the materials with which he works are also supplied by the Lord. The Lord knows everything directly and indirectly, and he is cognizant of all minute details, and he is fully independent. He is compared with the mine of gold, and the cosmic creations in so many different forms are compared with objects made from the gold, such as gold rings, necklaces, and so on. The gold ring and the gold necklace are qualitatively one with the gold in the mine, but quantitatively the gold in the mine is different. Therefore, the absolute truth is simultaneously one and different. Nothing is absolutely equal with the absolute truth, but at the same time, nothing is independent of the absolute truth. Conditioned souls beginning from Brahma, who engineers the entire universe, down to the insignificant ant, are all creating, but none of them are independent of the Supreme Lord. The materialist wrongly thinks that there is no creator other than his own self. This is called Maya, or illusion. Because of his poor fund of knowledge, the materialist cannot see beyond the purview of his imperfect senses, and thus he thinks that matter automatically takes its own shape without the aid of superior intelligence. This is refuted in this shloka by Srila Vyasadeva. Since the complete whole, or the absolute truth, is the source of everything, nothing can be independent of the body of the absolute truth. Whatever happens to the body quickly becomes known to the embodied. Similarly, the creation is the body of the absolute whole. Therefore, the absolute knows everything directly and indirectly that happens in the creation. In the Shruti mantra, it is stated that the absolute whole, or Brahman, is the ultimate source of everything. Everything emanates from him, and everything is maintained by him. And at the end, everything enters into him. That is the law of nature. In the Smriti mantra, the same is confirmed. So let me just stop for a second. So Shruti mantras are the mantras that are from the Vedas, and the Rig, Yajur, Sama, Atharva. So Shruti relates to hymns that are heard, and Smriti, the Smriti mantras, Smriti means those that are remembered, and those relate to the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, which contains Bhagavad Gita. So these two words, Shruti and Smriti, are similar to Shravana and Smarana. So we have Shravana, Kirtana, Smarana. So remembering, chanting, hearing, chanting, remembering. So hearing, Shravana, Shruti, Smarana, remembering, and Smriti, remembering. So those are all similar. So I just wanted to elaborate on that. So it is said that the source from which everything emanates at the beginning of Brahma's millennium and the reservoir to which everything ultimately enters is the absolute truth, or Brahman. Material scientists take it for granted that the ultimate source of the planetary system is the sun, but they are unable to explain the source of the sun. Herein, the ultimate source is explained. According to the Vedic literatures, Brahma, who may be compared to the sun, is not the ultimate creator. It is stated in this shloka that Brahma was taught Vedic knowledge by the personality of Godhead. One may argue that Brahma, being the original living being, could not be inspired, because there was no other living being at the time. Herein it is stated that the Supreme Lord inspired the secondary creator, Brahma, in order that Brahma could carry out his creative functions. So the supreme intelligence behind all creation is the absolute Godhead, Sri Krishna. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Sri Krishna states that it is he only who superintends the creative energy, Prakriti, which constitutes the totality of matter. Therefore, Sri Vyasadeva does not worship Brahma, but the Supreme Lord, who guides Brahma in his creative activities. In this shloka, the particular word abhigna and svarat are significant. So abhigna is fully cognizant, and svarat is fully independent. These two words distinguish the Supreme Lord from all other living entities. No other living entity is either abhigna or svarat. Namely, no one is either fully cognizant or fully independent. Even Brahma has to meditate upon the Supreme Lord in order to create. Then what to speak of great scientists like Einstein? The The brains of such a scientist are certainly not the products of any human being. Scientists cannot manufacture such a brain, and what to speak of foolish atheists who defy the authority of the Lord. Even Mayavadi impersonalists who flatter themselves that they can become one with the Lord are neither abhinyaha or svarat. Such impersonalists undergo severe austerities to acquire knowledge to become one with the Lord. But ultimately they become dependent on some rich disciple who supplies them with money to build monasteries and temples. Atheists like Ravana or Hiranyakashipu had to undergo severe penances before they could flout the authority of the Lord. But ultimately they were rendered helpless and could not and could not save themselves when the Lord appeared before them as cruel death. This is also the case with modern atheists, who also dare to flout the authority of the Lord. Such atheists will be dealt with similarly, for history repeats itself. Whenever men neglect the authority of the Lord, nature and her laws are there to penalize them. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita in the well-known verse, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanihi. Whenever there is a decline of dharma and a rise of adharma, O Arjuna, then I incarnate myself. Bhagavad Gita 4:7. That the Supreme Lord is all perfect is confirmed in all Shruti mantras. It is said in the Shruti mantras, these are the Vedic mantras, that the all-perfect Lord threw a glance over matter and thus created all living beings. The living beings are parts and parcels of the Lord, and he impregnates the vast material creation with seeds of spiritual sparks, and thus the creative energies are set in motion to enact so many wonderful creations. An atheist may argue that God is no more expert than a watchmaker, but of course God is greater because he can create machines in duplicate male and female forms. The male and female forms of different types of machineries go on producing innumerable similar machines without God's further attention. If a man could manufacture such a set of machines that could produce other machines without his attention, then he could approach the intelligence of God. But that is not possible, for each machine has to be handled individually. Therefore, no one can create as well as God. Another name for God is Asmaudra, which means that no one is equal to or greater than him. Param Satyam, or the Supreme Truth, is he who has no equal or superior. This is confirmed in the Shruti mantras. It is said that before the creation of the material universe, there existed the Lord only, who is master of everyone. That Lord instructed Brahma in Vedic knowledge. That Lord has to be obeyed in all respects. Anyone who wants to get rid of the material entanglement must surrender unto him. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Just want to point out, the Lord instructed Lord Brahma through his heart. So I just want to point that out, that Paramatma, Krishna in your heart, so important to listen to and develop a relationship with, because that's where many of your transcendental realizations will come from. As I go, let me continue. Unless one surrenders unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, it is certain that he will be bewildered. When an intelligent man surrenders unto the lotus feet of Krishna and knows completely that Krishna is the cause of all causes, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, then only can such an intelligent man become a Mahatma, or great soul. But such a great soul is rarely seen. Only the Mahatmas can understand that the Supreme Lord is the primeval cause of all creations. He is Padma, or ultimate truth, because all other truths are relative to him. He is omniscient. For him, there is no illusion. Some Mayavadi scholars argue that Srimad Bhagavatam was not compiled by Sri Vyasadeva, and some of them suggest that this book is a modern creation written by someone named Vopadev. In order to refute such meaningless arguments, Sri Sridhar Swami points out that there is a reference to the Bhagavatam in many of the oldest Puranas. This is Sridhar Swami, who was a contemporary of Lord Chaitanya. There is reference to this in the Matsya Purana, which is the oldest Purana. In that Purana, it is said, with reference to the Gayatri Mantra in the Bhagavatam, that there are many narrations of spiritual instructions beginning with the Gayatri Mantra. And there is the history of Vritasura. I'm not sure why Prabhupada includes the history of Vritasura. So Vritasura was a demon, but he was also a Brahmin who was killed, and he was created by there was a Vedic sacrifice, and they were chanting to create this demon that they needed, and they slipped up on their mantras, and they got Vritasura instead, who was a king in a different planet who was brought down to become this demon. He was later killed by Indra, and Indra was very upset because he knew who he was, but he still had to kill him because he was posing as a demon. Anyways, I'm not sure why the history of Vritasura was here, but there it is. Anyone who makes a gift of this great work, this Srimad Bhagavatam, on a full moon day, attains to the highest perfection of life by returning to Godhead. There is reference to the Bhagavatam in other Puranas also, where it is clearly stated that this work was finished in 12 cantos, which include 18,000 shlokas. In the Padma Purana also, there is reference to the Bhagavatam in a conversation between Gautama and Maharaj Ambarish. The king was advised therein to read regularly Srimad Bhagavatam if he desired liberation from material bondage. Under the circumstances, there is no doubt about the authority of the Bhagavatam. Within the past 500 years, many erudite scholars and acharyas like Jiva Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti, Vallabhacharya, and many other distinguished scholars, even after the time of Lord Chaitanya, made elaborate commentaries on the Bhagavatam. And the serious student would do well to attempt to go through them to better relish the transcendental messages. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur specifically deals with the original and pure sex psychology, the Adi Rasa, devoid of all mundane inebriety. The whole material creation is moving under the principle of sex life. In modern civilization, sex life is the focal point for all activities. Wherever one turns his face, he sees sex life predominant. Therefore, sex life is not unreal. Its reality is experienced in the spiritual world. The material sex life is but a perverted reflection of the original fact. The original fact is in the absolute truth, and thus the absolute truth cannot be impersonal. It is not possible to be impersonal and contain pure sex life. Consequently, the impersonalist philosophers have given indirect impetus to the abominable mundane sex life because they have overstressed the impersonality of the ultimate truth. Consequently, man without information of the actual spiritual form of sex has accepted perverted material sex life as the all in all. There is a distinction between sex life in the diseased material condition and spiritual sex life. The Srimad Bhagavatam will gradually elevate the unbiased reader to the highest perfectional stage of transcendence. It will enable him to transcend the three modes of material activities: fruitive actions, speculative philosophy, and worship of functional deities as inculcated in Vedic verses. Well, that seems like the perfect place to stop. We could read some more, but I think the next verse is a little bit long also. Bhaktiville says he's so glad that we're reading this again. It's been so long. Yes. I too am so happy we're reading it. Kandita says, thank you. You're very welcome. Thank you. Thank you for letting me read, and thank you for coming on Fridays to listen, and those who are listening to us live on Facebook or in the video recording. Thank you for coming. Thank you for supporting Bhaktiville. And are there any questions? Anyone have any comments? Ash, you are more than welcome to come every time, all the time. We have this reading on Friday nights. We have a reading on Sunday mornings at 9, and we have another Bhagavad Gita reading on Tuesdays at 7. And those are all second lifetimes. No questions? No more comments?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you again. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Jai. Thank you. Hare Krishna.